This is Asiatech Podcast. We are in the Asiatech Podcast studio in Singapore. My name is Graham Brown. I'm joined by Bárbara Ximénez Bruidegom.
Nearly good.
Okay, so there's a story there, isn't there, that name? But we'll go into that in a bit. Many different countries thrown into that, but originally you're from Spain.
I am Spanish by nationality, raised in the Netherlands.
Raised in the Netherlands, hence the different names there.
Yes.
So, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming to the studio. We're going to talk about Shutta. We're going to talk about your journey getting there. And this is PitchDeck Asia, so we will also look at your pitch deck and we will jump off with some of the talking points from your pitch deck. Maybe we can start by putting Shutta on the table and talk about what that is first. The name kind of gives it away a little bit. Shutta, cameras, photos. What's it about?
Shutta, it does come from a photo-video background. Originally, the functionality was to be able to extract a photo in original resolution from any video.
Right.
So if you take a 4K video, you can extract around an 8.4 megapixel photo out of it. Strangely enough, that's actually a functionality that isn't inbuilt in any of the camera phones.
Right.
Even 5 years down the line, it still doesn't exist. But if you want to take pictures of children, action sports, pets, or just be with friends and you're afraid that you missed the moment, actually it's very useful. A screenshot of a screenshot means that you've got a very bad resolution. Mm-hmm. If you take the frame out, you
That's
can
what
actually
I do
repost
now.
it.
Right.
Well, stop doing that. Download Shutta, and then you don't have to do that anymore.
So why do we need to do that? What's the reason that we need to do that?
Well, okay, there's several reasons for it. We started out with the tagline, never miss a moment, because it is difficult to get good photos. And the best photographers, they'll take 50 shots of a 2-second moment and only have 1 or 2 frames that are actually valuable. Most of us don't have the time to go around, or the storage capacity on our phones to take around 50 shots. So if you just take a video, then at leisure, from your sofa, you can go and find that perfect moment. We've noticed that it's a functionality actually that people really appreciate. We've grown to about 2.5 million users worldwide. And once people are on, they keep coming back to it because the moments keep popping up in your life where you go, oh, I just missed it. Oh, I just missed it. Well, you don't need to do that anymore.
Tell me a little bit about the quality of the image that comes out. That's always the issue, isn't it? If I record in video, then it's not going to produce a photo as good as taking it with my DSLR, for example. Or where are we now with that? So put me in my place.
It's really difficult to compete with a DSLR. I mean, we're talking about some serious equipment there. That costs some serious money as well. The quality of the photos very much depends on the quality of the camera phone that you have. A lot of the cameras now are 4K, and like I say, that will give you an 8.4 megapixel photo, which is not quite a DSLR spec,
level, but it's good enough. I mean, it was DSLR a few years back, right?
Exactly, and it's good enough for print. Not good enough for billboard print, but good enough for small print.
Okay.
So especially for social media content and web content, it gives you perfect resolution photos. Okay.
I've got to ask you how you got into that. Do you have like a videography or photography background?
I don't. My co-founder James does. He used to teach A-level photography. And the light bulb moment actually was 5 years ago on the 15th of September. We were at a festival of colors in Tarifa on the beach in Spain. It's a bit like a Colour Me run, but without the running. There was just beer and loads of colours. And he was trying to get a picture of the flares of chalk, coloured chalk going up. And he was simply unable to catch it. Every photo would just come out as a very colourful blur. And so he decided to take a video and get the right frame further down the line. Now, coming from the photography and design background and being a developer, obviously he had all the full editing suites. But even with photo editing suites, it still was a screenshot of a video. And so he decided to build it. We have come a long way since that original moment, though.
Well, even in the sense that that was Tarifa in Spain, and we're sitting here in Singapore.
Yes.
So let me ask you, where is the company based? Is it based here in Singapore?
Our headquarters is in Hong Kong.
Okay.
And our IT development is in Vietnam.
In Vietnam.
Yeah.
And you are based where? You're based here in Singapore?
I'm based in Vietnam.
Oh, you're based in Vietnam?
Yes.
Okay. So your development center is in Ho Chi Minh?
Yes. Correct.
Okay. Your company's registered in Hong Kong?
Correct.
Okay. All right. Let's unpack that a little bit. How did you turn out to be a company with a development center in Vietnam? Did you go to Vietnam? But were you in Vietnam? I mean, a lot of people know Vietnam's obviously got a very strong base of developers out there. How did that happen? Tell us a little bit about that.
We visited Vietnam 3 times in a year, in a time when Spain was still very much in the midst of the economic crisis.
Yeah.
And I think we were taken by the entrepreneurial passion. It's so vibrant in the whole of Vietnam. It's contagious. Everyone is studying and doing 2 jobs, or doing 2 jobs and doing a side project. There seems to be a real drive for people to want to build something out of their lives. And then, as you say, they have a very high level of IT skill sets. Up until about 5 years ago, Windows didn't exist in Vietnamese, so all of those students were actually being trained in English-speaking IT.
Wow.
So it means that the communication also is very easy. It's a very young workforce. I think the average age is somewhere around 27 or so. And all of those things combined make for a great place to set up a team that takes ownership and has the same kind of drive and passion that as an entrepreneur you want.
You're looking for,
Exactly.
right? Exactly. Well, how many people have you got out there now?
We've got about 15 people.
15 people. They're all developers, are they?
Mainly developers.
Yeah.
We have obviously we have a social network built into the app, so we need community builders, quality management, all of those things that make sure that the content that's on the app is palatable and
right.
And
Okay.
acceptable.
Good. So let's unpack the business model a little bit and how that works. I know you've mentioned that you've grown a lot in your user base as well. Before we get to that, maybe we can jump into the pitch deck, because you've got a sort of a map of the business model. We're getting there. This is the bit we're going to edit out.
Right.
Oh, there we go. So on slide 5, where we are now, you describe yourself as a measurable online to offline service on the business model. How do you actually make money? I know you've got your subscription model there as well, and you've got project basis, I guess, where you're going to clients and you're charging them for that. How does it work?
Maybe it's easier if we go back a little bit.
Yeah,
because,
let's do that.
As I said earlier, Shutta has come a long way since we were just a photo video app. We've always made our money from the brands. The app is free to download for users. And we made a very conscious choice not to have any advertising within the app. We think it puts users back up. They tend to not even see it. So it doesn't really serve a purpose, not for the brands that we work with, but it also alienates the user base that we're working with. So we came up with missions as a concept quite early on. Now, missions are photo contests, and the brands will give our users a brief of the type of content that they need to go out and hunt for. And the best photo wins a prize. The prizes are quite good. It can be a camera or a phone or a GoPro, something like this. Now, from that, our users started asking us for more missions. They started calling themselves Shutta Missionaries, and they were asking us for more activities, more reasons to go out. And this is a little bit where the balloons, the location missions, come from. So whereas photo missions are global and anyone can take part, location missions are hyper-local. They happen in your street. At the moment, they only exist in Ho Chi Minh City. But it's the same concept. The brands pay us to have a balloon on the map. The users complete a small challenge. And when they complete the challenge successfully, they are rewarded by the brand in some sort of way. And this is where the 2-tiered business model comes from.
Yeah.
Actually, the pricing that's on that sheet is a little bit out of date. But
so let me understand. A brand would come to you and say, "Hey, look, we want to activate the photography community. We want to do this mission." So they would say, as an example, like a Unilever, say, "I want you to go and take photography or photos of, let's say, young mums," as an example. I'm just sort of freestyling here. Tell me if this is completely out of context.
You're completely on the
right
right track.
So they say, okay, do young mums who want people to go out and take photos in situ, in a natural environment.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we don't want to just do like the selfies or the portrait photos. We want them to doing their thing.
Yeah.
Right. Want you to go out and do that. So they come to you and say, this is what we want. And you say, okay, fine. We now need to take that to the community. You're missionaries, right?
Yes.
Put a prize up. So let's say that a cash prize maybe, or some sort of products or something like that.
Yeah, it tends to be products because people like the idea of getting a camera or the latest iPhone or the latest.
Right, so products, so some gear.
Some gear.
Which always appears to them. And then your missionaries go out and shoot this, right?
Yes.
And what then happens? Are they do this purely to win the prize? Okay.
Well, they do it to win the prize. They also do it to get kudos.
Right.
And I think that kudos is sometimes even more of an incentive than the prize itself. So we, any submissions obviously get published on the app itself. We distribute a daily finalist on our social media, and that's where the kudos comes in. We get requests from all over going, can we be featured on your Instagram? Can we be featured on your Facebook? Well, you can only be featured on our social media if you enter into the contest. So the kudos element is very big. What people were coming back to us with is the missions are getting us out doing things that we wouldn't normally have thought of doing. It's getting us to look at the world in a way that we wouldn't normally have looked at it. And this is what really appeals. It gives people something to do. And in a similar vein, the location missions, the balloons, the hyper-local missions, which tend to have much smaller prices, they follow a similar trend. It's like, okay, look up, look around you, what's going on, and maybe try something that you wouldn't normally thought of trying.
And what would the brands get out of it? Because they could go and pay a stock photographer to go out and shoot, photos of young mums, as an example. There must be more to it than just sort of gathering the content, right? Yes. What are they getting?
Well, there's a big difference between professional content and user-generated content, and you can see how the two work differently on social media just by click-through rates. So professional photography and even macro-influencer content, so celebrities that endorse products, it tends to have a very low click-through rate, very low engagement rate. I think globally it's somewhere below 1%.
Right.
Any of the user-generated content that we distribute, which effectively is micro-influencer content, over 70 missions, we're averaging 35% click-through rate, engagement rate.
Okay, so can we just talk about that a little bit? Because that's quite a powerful statistic. So you're saying, I don't know if the stats are in the pitch deck, but
no.
I mean, okay, so you're sort of speaking from like market data, which is that a top-level influencer like a Kardashian, for example, or whoever the equivalent in Vietnam is, they would, run a campaign and get a 1% click-through.
An influencer will probably get a little bit more than just professional content that gets posted by the brand itself.
Oh, you mean so the brand's own campaign?
The brand's own campaign tends
1%.
to perform at 1%.
Right.
A macro-influencer might get 10, 12, 15%.
Right.
User-generated content, micro-influencer content, in our case is averaging out at 35%.
Right.
But we've done a lot of work with Kite Tour Asia, the official kiteboarding organization in Asia. They are getting on average 55 to 60% of click-through rate, engagement rate on any content that comes through our app. And it all boils down to the stickiness factor. Malcolm Gladwell wrote a beautiful formula for this. The reality is that celebrities, macro-influencers, or the brand itself, they give a message that a lot of people might hear, but it sticks in their mind for a very short period of time. Now, if your family member or your best friend recommends something or takes part in something, jumps through hoops for a brand to get a reward, that message actually sticks around for a lot longer.
It's more meaningful.
It's much more meaningful.
You talked about macro and micro influence. Maybe help us understand it.
Sure.
Macro being sort of the celebrity level?
They are the celebrities.
Right.
They're the Kardashians and the people that, you go to their Instagram, and in each Instagram picture they'll hold a bottle or wear a watch.
And it'll actually say this is in paid partnership with whatever. Okay, so that's the macro. Micro basically mean...
You and me.
Yeah, average people.
Exactly.
Out there.
So our circle is micro-influencers. As normal people is a lot smaller. So the amount of people that you can reach as a micro-influencer, maybe in Europe is in the hundreds. In Asia, people tend to be more connected. It might be in the thousands. Whereas a celebrity will reach millions of people. But if I can activate 1,000 micro-influencers, 1,000 individuals that each can reach 1,000 of their friends, and the message that they get across has a lot more stickiness, then ultimately the value of that far exceeds what a Kardashian, no disrespect to the Kardashians, but it far exceeds what a normal person
absolutely
can add to a
The
brand.
challenge has always been is finding all those normal people, right? That's why brands don't go to those people, because it's easier to go through a Kardashian because they have an established, roadmap. This is what you do, this is how much you pay them, and this is what you get. Like finding the people out there on the street, so to speak, is really hard. But you're creating these like campaigns effectively around these competitions, right? Okay. Can we have a look at some of the numbers so people can understand where you've gone with this and a bit of the roadmap, if you like? So if we can kind of flick forward, I know you've got the market size here, but where you are right now with Shutta, you've got some of your clients listed there. Domino's, is that?
Yeah, Domino's Pizza. Yeah.
Can we just talk a little bit about that as an example? Because obviously they are one of the world's biggest advertisers. How did that work? What was the campaign that you did with them?
We did a campaign with Domino's called Celebrations. So pizza in the West, we associated with laziness, sitting on the sofa, getting the delivery man. It's not quite the same in Vietnam. It's very much a going out meal, and it's something that people tend to have when there is celebration. So office birthdays, those type of things. So what Domino's wanted to achieve was getting across that if there's a celebration going on, then you should be going for a pizza. So we asked our users to go out and take pictures of celebrations, and the celebrations didn't actually need to include any pizza in the photo. It's literally about making the association in people's minds that pizza or Domino's equals fun parties. It was a very successful campaign. I can't remember exactly how many people entered, but at the end of it, we could measure through through Domino's analytical channels that we increased their online ordering visits or visits to their ordering page by something like 165% over a 3-week period. And ultimately, their pizzas that were being ordered through social channels went up by 10%, using the exact same budget as they would have done normally on their regular social media. One of the interesting side effects that we noticed is that although the brief didn't ask people to have their parties at Domino's or have Domino's pizza in their photos, as the campaign went on, by week 3, nearly all of the photos, all of the entries included Domino's pizza in the photo in some sort of way. So it worked really well for them. It was content that they could see themselves reusing on their own social media. Obviously, the brands get a content license for each submission. But most importantly, we were able to get more pizza orders coming through social media channels.
So that was in Vietnam?
Yes.
Do you think there'll be any challenges replicating that in other markets? Like, so, for example, you took that to Singapore or Hong Kong?
Every market is quite unique. And photo missions are, as I say, they're global missions. Anyone globally can take part. It means that we can tap into a much larger pool of content creators. But location missions, the balloons, which we haven't really spoken about very much.
Well, can
the
you
Pokemon Go
talk
element.
about that, because it's all over your pitch deck. So
it is. And this is my own bad for starting with the photo video aspect of the app. If you go a little bit back in the pitch deck, there's a picture of loads of balloons somewhere. So what we here are trying to do, this is in Ho Chi Minh City. There's about 300 balloons at the moment floating around Ho Chi Minh City. And each of those balloons has its own unique mini mission. Now, a mini mission can be a game, a shoot 'em up game, or a Flappy Bird type game. It can be a trivia quiz, which brands can use for market research as much as entertainment. Or it can also be a mini photo mission, but then it has to be taken at that specific location.
So what's the difference between the blue and the red ones? Is there?
The blue ones are the ones that I've completed. The red ones I'm still working on.
You've got work to do here, Bárbara.
I do. There's 300 balloons, and I still need to get some work done every now and again.
So if I was so as I understand how it works, rather than the brand contacting the user directly, they put these missions out there, and it's up to them what they decide to take and not. So if it's in their locality, they may decide to go for it or not. Okay. Interesting. So there's a bit of a game in there as well for them.
It is very much gamifying real life. So find out what's out there, see what the brands want to offer you. It's a way of allowing users to communicate with the brand, but also a way for the brand to give users the tools to talk about the brand in the way that the brand wants to be spoken about. In
location as well. I mean, how important that is for advertising and marketing.
Exactly. Right? And this ultimately, whereas the photo missions are great for activating users online and converting those users to pizzas sold online, for example, this is very much about activating people online and then driving them to offline locations. So again, in Vietnam, what is very important, where it's still very much a cash-based system, and people want to see foot traffic into their stores. This is a way in which we can actually drive foot traffic to your specific location in a measurable way. This type of content obviously needs to be highly localized. And the content, the games, the style, the language that's being used.
But is it up to the brands to come up with that content? So then it would be easy to go to a new city and just get the brands, if they were coming out with the stories, if you like, the competitions, that's fine. You don't have to come in and say, look, we're going to plan all of this, and then people can kind of jump on board, right?
We have a self-service module, a little bit like Facebook ads or Facebook pages, where people can make their own pages and set up their own ads. Obviously, that needs to go through an approval queue, even with us. But as you say, if the brands are doing it themselves, they understand their local environment much better than we do. So we just make sure that the app is available in the right languages, and that we have a basic understanding and community builders that speak the same language to help brands along the way. One of the really strong things about the location missions, the balloons, is that is actually a product that's accessible for micro businesses as much as it is for the large brands, the Unilevers and the Domino's. So photo missions are expensive projects. They cost a good sum of money. Micro businesses, depending on whether they qualify or not, they could have a balloon on the map for $1 a month.
Yeah.
And it's those micro businesses that make the content so highly localized. So in Vietnam, for example, it's really important that we have a lot of coffee on. Vietnamese are big coffee drinkers.
Absolutely.
And so we need to make sure that there's a lot of micro business coffee shops on, and not just the big Starbucks chains, because that's not actually the coffee that the average Vietnamese drinks more than once a week. When we go from Vietnam to Singapore, for example, then it's not going to be coffee. It's going to be probably food courts.
Nasi lemak.
There we go.
Whatever the local flavour is. Okay, very interesting. Bárbara, just in sort of rounding up, what is your situation with fundraising? Are you fundraising at the moment?
Yes.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about what you've done until now in fundraising. Have you bootstrapped? Did you raise funds? And then tell us about what happens next.
We've bootstrapped, raised funds, bootstrapped again, and now raising funds again.
Right. So what are you doing now? Is it an angel round? Is it a seed round?
It's a seed round, and it's still not too excessively large.
How much are you raising? Can you share?
$500,000.
$500,000 US?
US
Okay.
dollars, yes. We've raised a little bit less than that in the past, about 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
That's allowed us to set up the infrastructure, hire the team, get close to becoming self-sufficient. We're raising now because obviously scaling this product is essential. There's a lot of people working on similar concepts. We think we have a way of reaching the market very quickly, especially if we can leverage micro businesses in the same way that we leverage micro influencers in photo missions. But still, 500,000 means that we can expand this into Southeast Asia in the next 12 months.
Where would that be? Just down, what will 500,000 get you? Singapore?
500,000 should get us into at least another 4 countries in Southeast Asia: Philippines, Indonesia, Malaysia, Singapore, Hong Kong, Korea. Maybe very popular in Korea, very popular in Japan. Both of those markets they function slightly differently, so it might be more difficult. But that's the objective for 2019.
Okay.
And then in 2020, it's global domination.
Excellent. Bárbara Ximénez, Bruidegom. Yeah. Thank you for the support in pronouncing your name. But thank you so much for coming today and sharing your journey with us. What's the best way that people can reach out to you? What's your most preferred channel?
Shutta would be good.
Yeah.
Obviously.
They can contact you on the website?
They can contact us on the website. They can download the app and get active there.
Okay. I'm just saying, for example, I mean,
if
who
people
watch
want
this,
to
contact you directly. LinkedIn?
LinkedIn, the website.
Okay,
I'm happy to give out my email address even.
Excellent. We'll put all the details in the show notes.
Great.
Bárbara, thanks so much for coming. And come back as well when you have an update, when the global domination, well, in between now and global domination, in a few months' time, one thing the audience, the listeners, the viewers like is the before and after.
Yeah.
So we would like to see you, after your, whether or not you've completed your raise or whatever, in like 3 to 4 months' time, see how things are going on, because that sort of longitudinal snapshot of your journey is really important for people to understand sort of where you're going. So please come back on and share the journey with us.
Love to. Thank you very much for the invitation.
Good. Excellent.